could have your attention. It is now 1:30, so I will be calling this meeting to order, but for those able, please stand and we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, thank you for everyone. Today, Thursday, October 9th, this is the Golf Committee meeting. I've called the meeting to order as we have all committee members present. We've established quorum, we said the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will go through the meeting procedures. The governing board and its committees conduct all their meetings in compliance with the Arizona Planned Community Association open meeting laws per Arizona Revised Statute 33-1804 and in concert with the Rec Center's bylaws, policies, and standing rules. Parliamentary procedures as outlined in the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Order will also be followed in all meetings as appropriate, consistent with bylaw 3.07 and standing rules 2 and 3. In addition, I will just say the meeting is being live streamed and being recorded on YouTube. And for those up front here, if you could have your cell phones turned off and probably off the table, then we won't get any interference with the microphones. Alrighty, thank you very much. First order of business under 2.0, approval of meeting minutes from September 11th. I sent a copy to all committee members. The minutes were published or posted on the hub well over a week ago. Do we have any corrections, changes, or additions to the minutes? Okay, thank you. The minutes will stand as posted. Okay, I'm proud to say today we have our 3 committee members who unfortunately missed our last meeting, which was the quickest one we've ever held. So I'd like to don't mess it up. So Kathy, if you'd like to say a few words.
Sure, I wasn't here. It was quick. Yes, this is my 3rd year on the committee. I moved here from Michigan 6 years ago, and I play golf about 4 or 5 times a week.
My name's Vanessa Stevens. I've been permanently in Sun City West since 2020. Play out of Grandview Golf Course with the awesome ladies league there. Love this community. Happy to be on board here. This is my 2nd year on this committee.
Good afternoon. I'm Julie Klieger. I have lived in Sun City West for the past 10 years. I spend 3 humid months in Nebraska, and this is my 2nd year on this committee, and enjoy it.
All righty, thank you very much. Getting down to business, our first report will be from Pat O'Hara, Golf Operations Manager. Oh, excuse me, we will go a bit out of line, and we'll move right on to our financial report from Cliff Swan, because Cliff has another commitment at the torch class, which is just getting started. Sorry, Cliff.
Thank you, Director Grom. Good afternoon, everyone. I picked up on that little comment about Kathy not being here and it going really quickly, so. I was saying how they missed it. Okay, so happy to present the August year-to-date financials. Kind of early days in the year, of course, with only 2 months under our belt. But we'll go through the financials, and you'll see that we're doing well compared to budget and compared to prior year. Starting out with the revenue, looking at the August year-to-date compared to budget, we're $50,000 overall operating revenue ahead of budget, with 40 of that being golf fees and 12 being range carts and range cards. Golf carts and range cards, excuse me. So 1,540 rounds ahead of budget for the first 2 months of fiscal year 25-26. Compare that to prior year, about 50,000, 52,000 ahead of prior year. we based the budget this year on prior year for the first 6 months, and then we'll probably start to see a bigger variance after the first 6 months of the year, one way or the other. Looking at the golf revenue by golfer type. So this is the card revenue. We have 4 cards. We actually have 5. We have a CMP card, but it's nominal in terms of revenue. But we've got 4 main golf card types: the Unlimited card, Kachina card, Coyote card, and the Twilight card. We collect the fee for the card up front, and we realize that revenue over the life of the card, which is 12 months. So through the first 2 months of the year, we're $8,000 ahead on our card revenue compared to last year, or 3% ahead.
Hey,
Now
Cliff,
looking,
before you move on, can you go back to the prior slide, please?
sure.
Okay, so the Unlimited card, looks like we're making good money on that. The red number 3 and 1, are people not renewing those cards? Is that what that means? Or
Well, it's hard because, well, yes, but
are they moving up to the Unlimited card? That's part of what I'm trying to get to.
they did. But these are always 1/12, so
Right.
that could have happened 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
But yes, we do put out the card information in the financial, and you could find that in the CFO financial report. You can also find card holder counts in the overall financial statement that's posted on the website. It's on the FinData page, or the financial data page. We give the total card count. So if you want to see those, we do it for the current year, the budget, and 2 prior years.
Okay, thank you.
If you want to see that, yeah. Okay. So we have greens fees tied to all of our card types except Unlimited, of course, and Twilight, because that's a flat rate, a flat card rate with no greens fee. So we have resident greens fees, Coyote card greens fee, Kachina greens fee, and non-member greens fee. So that's going to be member guests and public non-member are in that bucket. And so overall, we are 33,000 ahead, or 11% ahead through the month of August compared to prior year. These trending reports don't really say much in August, so but here's our revenue golf fees trending report, and then our golf rounds trending report for the year compared to budget and prior year. You'll see, as we said earlier, a little ahead on both. So taking a look at the expenses, we're $8,000 favorable in our expenses through the first 2 months. I will say things like landscape maintenance and golf maintenance are, can vary month to month. So just having two months under our belt, it's hard to really analyze that right now, just because of the timing when we do seed and when we do repairs out on the course. But overall, we're 8,000 ahead favorable in terms of our expenses through August. And if we look at, compared to budget, if we look at prior year, we're just 4,000 behind last year in our expense structure. Trending for wages and benefits, as you can see, September through December really is their largest months of expense because of overseeding, the things we're doing to prepare the golf courses, the amount of electricity that we're using to pump water, things like that. That's why the expense structure is higher in those months in budget and prior year. So overall, operating cash inflow outflow, we're operating at a $1.1 million deficit through the first 2 months of the year. Compared to prior year, compared to budget, we're 58,000 favorable to budget and 48,000 favorable to prior year. We'll continue to operate at a deficit in golf until March, April for the year. and then in April we'll actually go positive, and then May and June we'll lose money in golf again, just because the heat starts and the rates go down and the rounds go down, which is a typical trend for us. That concludes my financial presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? David?
So I don't remember the slide number, Cliff, but
Yeah.
would you go back to the ones that have the breakdown of the types of players and the revenue for them?
Yes, the greens fee or the card?
That one.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm seeing a substantial increase in non-member green fees in spite of the fact that we raised the rates for outside play, right?
That would be rounds that you're referring to? Because the fees would go up if we raised the rates.
Right.
So you mean rounds? Let's see
Well,
what
yeah,
rounds are.
okay.
Okay.
Non-member rounds, so he's substantially higher than what you budgeted for.
Yeah, we're 928 rounds in the first 2 months ahead on non-member golf, correct?
So a quick commentary on that would be is it doesn't seem that the increase in rates deters outside play.
Can I respond to that?
There is a breaking
Absolutely.
point, but yes,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So looking at this, I took it a little bit further and I broke it between primetime green fees, twilight, and super twilight. During the months of July, August, and September, we're 2% down in primetime public, 24% up in public twilight, and 38% up in super twilight public. So
Yeah, so people are playing after work.
could be part of it, or it becomes a price issue of
Right.
peak, and now they're trying to find a cheaper way to still enjoy Sun City West. So we'll look at that and keep an eye on that. But I looked at it too, and I said, wow, we're really doing pretty well, but let's see where we're doing well. And
Okay.
that's where it panned out.
And Pat, I would just make one other comment too, is in the summer, it's such a condensed prime time with the groups that are already put into the tee sheets. It is much harder even for Sun City West members to sometimes get a tee time. So I would just keep that as a side thought as well.
And you're saying that in the summer months? So twilight starts at 11 in the summer. We start at 6 in the morning. Our group count goes down in the summer months. But as the day progresses, as you know, it gets warmer and warmer. So as the closer you get to 11, the hotter it gets. So yeah, there's challenges on both sides of that calendar year for sure.
Yeah, and we had, we'll say two, wasn't Grandview closed last? That's one of our higher public courses, which helps. So we'll just we'll evaluate it as it goes. It's a good sign for sure. And yes. And we've always increased rates. So it's not that increasing the rates is going to deter people. If you increase them too much, it will deter people.
The question is finding.
Yes.
Anyone else? If not, anyone in the audience have a question or comment upon what was presented? Any comments online? Okay, thank you, Cliff.
You're welcome.
Enjoy your time.
Thank you for accommodating.
Hope to see you there after 3:30 or so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, now, 4.0, golf operations. Manager Pat O'Hara.
What are we doing for pushing that, right?
Yep.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Just has a few slides to kind of give us a quick overview of the last 30 days or so. We started our tournament schedule in September 13th. We hosted 100 players over at Pebblebrook, 7 o'clock shotgun. It was the Fall Classic. We filled it up, which is good, and you'll see a slide or two on that. But our next event is our 30th annual Octogenarian Tournament. Current stats on this is it is the 25th of October. We'll be playing at Echo Mesa. The dinner is on the 26th, which is hosted up at Summit Hall up at Bone Ridge. Here's a couple pictures of previous octogenarians. We have 90 signed up out of the full field of 92, which to me is incredible every year. Last 5 or 6 years, we've always filled this up. We're expecting 5 or more players to be over the age of 90. So it's a good little event. Recap of the Fall Classic. You can see a couple pictures here. As I mentioned, 100 players. Here's the results of the event. You can even see the breakdown, men and ladies playing. We had 3 men's flights and 1 ladies flight. Just a good turnout, and that's always good to see. I like to show this because we treat these events as a special event, so we do the scoreboards for each flight. People get excited seeing their names up there and highlighting their good play, which is always good. Moving forward, we just received 30 golf carts that we had ordered. E-Z-GO, you can see they're a slightly different color than our older ones. This is what they call almond, and these will be located at 2 courses. One will be at Stardust, the Fleet, and the other ones will be at Echo Mesa. So we're excited to see those carts come in. I have 8 utility carts ordered. They should be here sometime next week. Wanted to give you an update on staff that we hire for temporary part-time positions, our players assistants, as well as our call center. Call center is up and running. We activate both of these positions at the same time we go into overseeding. We want to handle the overflow of calls and the lack of golf courses to try to keep pace of play moving. So September 25th is when we started these positions. They will be in place until the end of April. Call center, last year, if you recall, I was reporting how calls were falling. In September, we noticed an uptick of 15% in calls, so we'll keep an eye on that. When we do get lulls in our day due to calls, we adjust our staff and send a person home, so we're watching that closely. Wanted to share this with everyone. We've had some turnover in our department. These are key individuals, key positions. Had 2 managers retire. Both Mark Adcock and Mike Williams retired this last summer. Fortunately, we had a couple people on staff that we could replace. John Smith is going to take over as manager at Grandview and Trail Ridge. John's been with us. This will be his 3rd year. We stole him from the Wigwam, and happy to have him on board. Paul Gruza has been with us a little over 5 years. He's now at Pebblebrook and Stardust. So we're excited for Paul. And then Brian, who was our special event and our assistant golf ops coordinator, has been promoted to golf ops coordinator, and he stays in our office over at Pebblebrook. We recently hired Jennifer Lorenz, who's going to replace John as our merchandiser and buyer over at Grandview. And we're still looking for someone to replace Brian with our special events. Just a reminder, Todd will get more into this, clarify this, and I try to beat this drum a little bit because conditions of our golf courses are really closely tied in what we all do as golfers. So if we're not using the cart path, if we're driving up near the green, if we're abusing where the carts need to be, all of us suffer. So I say this and I'm saying it to myself and reminding myself when I'm out playing, let's try to use the 90-degree cart path rule as much as possible. Let's give Todd a chance to grow some great overseeding grass this fall, give us a good playing surface. And when we do that, everybody wins. So just a reminder, just a nudge is all it is. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Pat.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered, because I know at Deer Valley it's a big problem with carts near the green. Have we ever considered getting the, I don't know if it's GPS or the switch that you get within 30 feet of that green? It shuts off, you've got to back out of there?
So that would work.
Would that be worth an investment?
That would work on our fleet carts, but it wouldn't work on the private carts.
No, it's, well, might be able something to think about.
Yeah.
If outside play is a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
I know with the residents, it's a problem.
It comes and goes. Yeah, we've got some good ones and we've got some that just need to keep nudging.
Or what about roping off the area?
Yeah, and I'll let Todd talk about that.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
When I looked on the octogenarian sign up, not that I'm an octogenarian, but I'm doing it for other people.
Sure.
There's a Peoria League. What is that?
a Peoria flight.
Yeah,
So for those that don't have handicaps, we want to encourage them to play, but we have to have a net side to it. So a Peoria system of handicapping is based upon what you shot that day. So it's taking 3 holes on each 9, typically a par 3, par 4, and a par 5. You add those up, how many shots were you under or over par? And then you calculate a handicap, and now we can create a net score for those people.
okay, so what about the people that have an established handicap? I'm thinking executive courses, and there are 3 of them, and a lot of elderly people play on those courses who would like to sign up, and they have an established handicap, they don't have a GIN number.
That's correct.
So they're kind of being told they can't play
No,
because,
they can play, they just
but
go
they're
into
gonna have to
Peoria
play in
flight.
that. No, that's not really correct, because they've had an established handicap.
But let's put that on the table, that their handicap is not legit. And I say that because their handicap is not calculated under USGA specs. For example, there are men's and ladies clubs out there that only take their Tuesday or Wednesday score and use that for their Tuesday or Wednesday play date. That's not USGA compliant. So there's things like that that don't run side by side with the USGA. And I have always felt our role is to protect those that do have a handicap and make sure that that is the standard in which we play by. The other ones are good for their league play, and that's a perfect purpose for that handicap. But when we start commingling with the GIN, somebody's going to have an advantage there. So.
I don't totally agree with that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
on another note, you were talking about 90-degree cart path rules. What about, I know a lot of courses like Westbrook Village, they have in and out. They have these posts or whatever it is, that's where you enter the fairway and that's where you exit the fairway.
Okay.
You ever looked into something like that? Save our,
Yeah, I'll let Todd talk about that.
okay. I have another question.
Okay.
I'll see it later.
Okay.
Don't go away.
Okay.
A few months ago, evidently, the rec center took themselves out of the golf and gave it to golf operations. Can you explain why that changed and how it has changed?
So what Mr. Decker's talking about is we have 91 chartered clubs. I believe 20% of them are golf. With that said, a lot of the challenges that our chartered golf clubs had were administrative, things of that nature. But a lot of the questions that come out of those chartered clubs are tee sheet related, number of players, formats related, etiquette, policies in golf. So it didn't really make sense to send that up to the rec center to have them answered by somebody that wasn't in the golf environment. So we're in the process. It hasn't started yet, but we're in the process. And for those of you that attend golf council meetings, which are the officers of our chartered clubs, in fact, the next one's next Thursday at 3 o'clock, that'll be the first discussion on how we're moving forward with that. So what we're trying to do is just tie everything into the same office, if you will, that we can expedite concerns or questions dealing with golf. That's the whole reason behind it. Casey Huda doesn't need to be asked, how many people can I have in a shotgun start, when she's turning around and calling me and asking us. So we just said if it helps the clubs and helps them get presidents and vice presidents and other officers, let's try and help them. So that's the purpose. Okay.
So I'd like to go back to the, excuse me, go back to the handicap comment.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I'm a scientist by training and I live and die by numbers,
Okay.
okay? The calculations for calculating the handicaps in 2 of the courses, they use the same software package, Golf Now, I believe is what it is. But anyway, Stardust and Echo Mesa use the same software package. And the calculations, the formulas used to derive the handicaps are exactly the same as the USGA.
Okay,
Okay? And the only reason that they can't call it the same system is because USGA has trademarked things.
slope being one of them.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I'm trying to understand. I think what you said basically was because those handicaps only contain the scores from the league play,
Mhm.
that they're not appropriate. And I'm trying to, let me finish.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm trying to understand that because part of the software package basically says, okay, based on your scores, here's what your handicap should be at any of the other golf courses around.
Mhm.
And that's all according to the USGA formulas. So I'm trying to really understand how that would give an advantage to the people who play the executive courses.
Yeah,
Numbers are numbers.
but it's bad numbers. So here's, let me walk through it this way.
I hate to say this, Pat, but that sounds exceptionally judgmental.
Well, it's not. It's, like you say, numbers are numbers. They're either good or they're bad. So let's walk through it. Dave Miller, how many times do you play in a week?
Typically 2, sometimes 3.
And where do you play your golf?
All 7 of the courses.
Okay, great.
And I have a gin.
And that's good. That's good. I'd encourage everybody to get gin. So if you are at a men's club, and I don't know if you are or not, but if you are at a men's club that only takes your Wednesday score, 60% of your rounds that week are not being calculated into your Wednesday handicap. Okay? The other thing is that slope is trademarked by the USGA, and your handicap system doesn't have access to that slope. So that there's a shortcoming on that side too.
Well, the slope is part of the calculation. I mean,
There's two. You've got course rating and then you've got slope.
I understand that.
Right. Course rating is your handicap system is allowed to use the course rating. Technically, it's not allowed to use the slope. So not all of your scores. So if somebody up here plays 6 times a week and you play at Stardust, 5 of your rounds are not being counted to calculate your handicap that you want me to use at one of my events. While Kathy, let's say, is a gin, all 6 or 7 of her scores are, and she is in compliance.
I think this is a much more lengthy discussion than we need to go into here
I agree.
in this
I agree.
format. So I will
agree.
table this for now.
All right.
Um,
So I agree. It's
So-
unfortunate, but that's the choice in which the club has made that decision. But my role is to protect everybody that has a USGA handicap. So there we go.
If I can comment, I'm actually certified in the World Handicap System and understand thoroughly how it works, and I agree 100% with what is being said. So, and it's basically because you have scores all over the country that get put into everybody's scores, and the ones you're talking about are only one course, and it's just apples and oranges. It's just not the same.
And really, one other thing is peer review. Dave Miller, I can't see what you turned in for scores. I can see what Ron Decker turned in. Yeah.
Please, sir, come to the microphone, your name and red card number.
Phil Weaver, 124087. I play on Wednesdays, I have a gym, but I play sometimes at Grandview, I also play at Stardust, I also play on weekends. So I have to post my own scores in gin every time I play at the other courses. I'm sure that there are a lot of guys who are in the same situation who don't post their Saturday scores. And there's a large number out there. I mean, I just hear the talk about, so there's more of that issue out there than just the other ones. Now, and this is the reverse of what you were specifying. If they're playing at the regulation courses on a weekend, they're probably not going into Golf Now and posting their scores if they, in the reverse. So, yeah, so I'm guessing you can't post to whatever those other scorekeepers are. So you've got scores not going into either system from both directions. So there is a little bit of a bigger problem.
So we're trying to control what we can control.
Right.
Bill Weaver, we're assuming that if you played, you're gonna post. If it comes to our attention that you didn't, and it wasn't that many years ago, David Eichner, if you remember, we reconciled our tee sheets at Pebblebrook against people that posted scores. And we said, okay, you played 4 times this month on Wednesdays, or on Thursdays, let's say, and outside of men's club, but you only posted 1 of those. So we had to do some reconciliation. One of the reasons why we have in our executive courses rated is for those that have a gin handicap, they can go play at Stardust or wherever, if they're a member at Grandview Golf Course, and post that score because they played a round of golf. So we're walking kind of a line here.
That's correct, Pat. When I was the president of Pebblebrook, we did that, and we found that there were about 25% of our members who didn't post any scores except Wednesdays, and we knew that they played 4 or 5 times a week. I don't know how you address that exactly. I mean, people are gonna, if they wanna take advantage of the system, I guess they are, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. If no other comments, we have no comments or questions online. So we'll move to 4.02, Todd Patty, talk about the condition of our golf courses.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, and just a couple updates on the overseeding. We're right in the middle of that. In fact, we'll be opening our first golf courses on Tuesday, the 21st, so right around the corner. I can tell you the golf courses really look good. We got a good catch on the ryegrass this year. The weather was absolutely perfect, temperature-wise. We had a little scare up front with a couple storm systems that came in, so we decided to hold back on seeding. And the rain kind of held us back a little bit on prepping, but we're in good shape right now. Grandview's party about a day and a half behind, just because of the size of the golf course and the amount of prepping that we had to do over there, and the amount of grass that we had. It was unbelievable how much grass we were generating with the scalping, and I think that has a lot to do with the new irrigation system that we put in. So we have really some healthy turf over there at Grandview, and I'm seeing it at Echo Mesa as well with that new system. So we're in good shape right now, and I'll get right into that. So our first cut, we have a schedule of first cuts on the golf courses, on tees, greens, fairways, banks, and everything. So this has a lot to do with as soon as we can determine our lower height for opening. So at Echo Mesa mowing operations, we started tees on the 4th of October. Stardust, we did tees, greens, and fairways on the 8th, which was yesterday. October 7th at Trail Ridge, we were doing tees and greens, and then we're looking at making some first cuts on our tees over at Grandview tomorrow, weather permitting. You know, we've got that big storm system that's supposed to roll in tonight, and we could have as many as 2 or 3 days of rain. So that's going to put us behind a little bit as far as mowing, but we'll figure it out. And then our starting height of cut, we have target or goals that we'd like to reach on each area. On our fairways, we'd like to be at 3/4 on opening day. Greens, 3/16. If we can get 5/30 seconds out, we will. And then we do a roll on that too. So just like every year, when we open up the golf courses, the greens are going to be a little bit bumpy. They're going to be a little bit slow, but each week they get better. On our tees, we're looking at 3/8 and our green banks at 3/4 of an inch. So I think at this point, from what I was looking at today, I think we're going to be able to meet these target heights for opening day. And then number 9 fairway at Echo Mesa, Tough, it really has come around. I was getting a little bit nervous about 2 weeks after we put the sprigs down because it really wasn't filling in. And then all of a sudden it just really took off. I think we had the humidity that moved in a little bit, and that really got things moving. So we did not overseed this fairway this year. We're going to look at painting it probably November or December. And one thing the paint will do, it will darken it up a little bit. So it will stay greener longer going into the winter months. And then we'll also do some painting on the back end, which is going to also draw in some heat, and it's going to green up a little bit earlier in the spring. But it's really solid out there. We have some weeds still. Goosegrass, we've sprayed it several times. It's going dormant, the weeds are, but you can see them a little bit. And then when we do our golf course tours, that's one place I'd like to go, and we can walk that fairway and talk about that a little bit. No car path restrictions on opening day, although the 90-degree roll. And we are going to manage traffic, and I talked to the superintendents about that, not only on this hole, but this winter, we're gonna make a real effort of moving stakes and ropes around. And if we have the staff, we'll do it. And really, that's what, in the past, we just haven't had the staff to do that. It takes time to move those ropes and everything, but we are gonna make a big effort at doing that on all the golf courses so that we don't get those wear patterns where they keep, as soon as they get off the cart path, they just keep beating down that same area. So we are gonna do that. So, but I'm really pleased with this. We only overseeded the green top and a collar this year. We didn't overseed the bank because that's also the new sod that we put out there. And, but I think you're gonna be real happy with that.
Todd?
Yes.
Just a thought, because I'm sure most people, particularly most of the golfers, don't even know this has occurred, unless they're watching us, which I'm sure they're not.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to get something in the Independent on what you're trying on that fairway, that hole, and maybe some other golfers will read that
Yeah,
and help with
absolutely. In fact, I talked
what
to-
you're trying to accomplish with this change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talked to Jennifer with the Independent on Monday, and she was gonna try and come out before we open, and we would actually do a little segment out there on the fairway, and then we'd get that into and also a video. I've talked to IT or Katie and to see if we can't go out there and actually do a video and talk about what we're seeing and why we did that. So going forward, I put this in the budget when we go over to Stardust in 2027 to do the irrigation and desert landscaping over there, is to do the fairways at Stardust, and then we'd go to Pebblebrook, and then we'd probably need to go back to Echo Mesa and then Grandview, those courses. I'm not looking at doing the other courses, Trail Ridge, Desert Trails, and Trail Ridge, because they have 328 TIF over there, so they already have an improved variety of Bermuda on those fairways. So just the common golf courses, getting rid of that. And then just update on the overseeing, the Echo Mesa, Stardust, Grandview, and Trail Ridge are closed. All 4 courses are scheduled to open on Tuesday, the 21st. We're not looking at any cart path restrictions, weather permitting. If we have some rain or some weather event that rolls in, we'd have to keep you on, but that's normal, like anytime that we'd have rain. Please stay on the cart paths as much as possible and observe the 90-degree rule. In the past, we've said, please drive in the rough as much as possible, avoid driving in the fairways. But I think at this point, it would just, if you observe the 90-degree rule, we're going to be in good shape. We're going to end the free drop from the desert areas at Grandview this year when we open, but then we're going to have free relief in the desert areas over at Echo Mesa when we open on the 21st. And just our year-to-date water usage, we're actually doing pretty good. We've used 181 acre-feet less this year than we did last year. And last year we were under our conservation allotment at the end of the year. And we are in the 5th management plan, which reduced our allotments by about 34 acre-feet for all 7 golf courses. So we have a remaining allotment of 818 acre-feet. The rain that we're getting right now and the cooler temperatures, that's certainly going to help keep those numbers down a little bit. So I'm confident that we're going to be under our conservation allotment this year with ADWR. And then golf course tours. I just put some dates together. I talked to Rudy about this. Monday, October 13th, the 16th, or the 20th. Hopefully one of those days will work for everybody. And then we were going to go over to Grandview, kind of look at the overseeding a little bit. And then we'd go over to Echo Mesa. We'd look at 9 fairway, as I just talked about. Number 3 tee box, and we could look at a few other things, the new desert landscaping over there. And then we go to Stardust. I want to kind of go over some things that I'd like to do in 2027 with the chipping green area, the putting green, and the driving range, and look at some areas that are possibly going to be converted over to desert landscape at Stardust.
Todd?
Yes.
Is that one date for all 3 courses?
No, yes.
So we have to pick one of those dates?
Yeah.
Can you go back so I can see the dates?
13th, 16th, and 20th.
Yeah, that's one of our business items, 5.03, but since this is up, what we pretty much agreed to last month is we would do just these 3 courses. We would include the pro shop and the patio areas, and we would probably count on about 2 hours, and everybody said 1 o'clock in the afternoon was a pretty good time. So we've got the 3 dates for those that are interested in taking the tours. which of these 3 dates would we want to do it on?
Thursday.
Thir-
Thursday's fine.
Is that one of those dates? 16th, okay. I've got a couple of votes for Thursday the 16th. Thursday the 16th, Thursday the 16th?
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock? Thursday the 16th?
Sure, I'll cancel my golf.
No, we take off early, we got 8 o'clock tea time.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's the, when you go back, you get us our 8 o'clock.
Yeah. That one's already going out. to
Okay,
bed.
I think we have a majority Thursday.
Meet
Thursday-
where, Rudy?
Pardon me?
Or meet at Grandview?
Yes, we'd go in that order. We'd meet at Grandview Pro
Meet at
Shop.
Grandview, 1 o'clock, Thursday the 16th. Count on about 2 hours. And, because Todd definitely has a few things he wants to show us. And it was brought up that we'll also take a look at the pro shops in the patio areas of those courses. So, thank you, Todd.
Okay.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay.
I do have one last thing, some action items from the last committee meeting. Mr. Decker, you brought up the issue with our staff driving in the desert areas. I met with them the next day, and so I'll keep reminding them that they need to stay out of the desert areas, and that includes Echo Mesa now that we have that. And there was a member that talked about tagging trees, free drop, free relief from some of our new trees. And so we're gonna be doing that too. I don't think there's gonna be that many trees over at Echo Mesa because most of those trees are on road crossings and street fronts, which are really out of play. So I don't know if we're gonna have too many trees over there that we're gonna tag. But I know there's a number of them, like on number 18 at Grandview on the left-hand side going down. Those are probably gonna need to be tagged. And there's a few others out there, but I don't expect too many over at Echo Mesa.
Sorry. How are you doing on employees getting extra help? You know, we were concerned about that last year, that you
Yeah.
don't get the help that you need.
Yeah, we've picked up a few, we've lost a few, and as of this morning, I'm 10 employees down right now. And it looks like I could be 12 by the end of the week.
Okay, so what do you look at as a solution,
You know,
possible solution?
I
sorry.
don't know. You know, our HR department is doing a great job in getting people in here, and it's hard to get these people. It really is, and it's tough work, especially in the summertime. You know, when they can go over inside and air condition and work over there for about the same money and benefits. But you know, we've got a great benefit package here. Our wages are very competitive, and you know, I talked to other superintendents around the area, and we share the same story. They're having a hard time getting employees. So I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I wish I did, because it really has an effect on what we do out there, and it's tough. You know, the guys that we have on board are working the job of 2 people sometimes because we don't have enough people out there. And so I wish I did have an answer to that. I really do.
Any kind of program through the University of Agronomy or anything from golf course? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, we've tried that in the past, and sometimes it's kind of hit and miss with that. There used to be a golf school called Mundus Golf Institute, and they've closed the doors over there because they don't have people that even come in enrolling in that program anymore. It's just, it seems like it's hard to find people that want to be in the golf business. And I'm talking about assistant superintendents. They just don't want that pressure. They don't want the long hours. And it's just, it seems like, and again, when I talk to other superintendents in Valley, they have the same story. So it's just not here in Sun City West. It's everywhere. It really is.
Feel for you.
So anyway.
I just have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Well, not really questions, but, so what about going to like shorter work hours for staff instead of like 8 hour, however many days or hours they've got?
Yeah.
4
yeah.
hour, I don't know, a lot of people just don't want to work anymore. Just a thought.
Yeah. The problem with that, with golf, grass and trees and stuff, it doesn't stop growing. I mean,
True enough.
and I, instead of going shorter hours, I'd prefer to go 13 or 14 hours a day. I really would, because golf is a little bit different business. like I said, the grass does not stop growing.
So Todd, what's their typical work day now? They work 6 days a week, 5 days a week, 4 days a week?
7 days a week.
And that could be the issue.
Well,
In other words,
we split that up because not the same guys are working every weekend, so it's split. So some guys have some time off.
because I wouldn't want to work 7 days a week if I didn't
Yeah.
have to.
But they don't all do that. The other thing too, they get a half day. Okay, there's that 4 hours. They get a half day on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's considered our short days. That way, especially during the high season, we're not out there with the women playing and the men. We're out of their way. So we get the course set up, and then we go home, and then we make up that 4 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday morning. That's what we do. So it's not 8 hours, 7 days a week. And I think they really like that schedule because that allows them to do things during the week with their family, with their kids and stuff like that. And so they like that schedule.
Okay, my last question.
Okay,
So what happened at Deer Valley?
in what regard?
It is in horrible shape.
Okay,
And
just,
it looked like the greens had been skinned. They're bumpy, they're dry. The equipment didn't look like it had been sharpened or something. I've never seen Deer Valley look like that. It's brown in a lot of places. It's usually one of the most beautiful courses we have. It is not in good shape right now.
I can tell you, we lost our superintendent, Cortabella, ended up hiring our superintendent for Deer Valley. So we went for a period without a superintendent. And then when we did hire a superintendent, we had some irrigation issues over there, computer issues. So we lost a few nights of not watering. And so, yeah, things got dried out, and there was a number of wet spots over there with the computer issues that we had. So he's just trying to balance everything and trying to correct that. We're going into overseeding here pretty soon. Bermuda grass right now is kind of shutting down a little bit, especially on the greens. It's taken on a different color. It's not that
Right.
green color. So it's starting to shut down. So you're going to see some of that out there on the golf course. So I think we have a handle on the irrigation over there. Yeah, it was just one of those things. It was timing, losing a superintendent and then bringing a new one on board that was kind of learning some stuff with the irrigation, with the computer, and then having some issues with that. And it's kind of a perfect storm over there. So we're going to get back on track over there. And it's funny because I agree. I said it doesn't look the greatest, but if I go on to Golf Now reviews for Deer Valley, and they say the place is in excellent shape. So I guess, sometimes it doesn't have to be green to be good. And that's kind of the way I look at it. So, but we're going to get back on track. We will.
It's a great.
Okay.
I play in Deer Valley quite a bit, and in general, I think it has stayed in pretty good shape. The only issue myself and those I play with have is whoever's putting the cups in on the greens. I mean, either where the old cup was, they don't push it down, so it gets scalped when they mow, or they're pushing them down too far, and you're putting, and it's down 1/8 of an inch or something. So whoever's doing that maybe hasn't done it much before, but I think if they could get that straightened out, it'd be great.
And that's just a matter of training, and we do have some new people over there, and so the problem nowadays, I'll go back years ago when we hired people for the golf course. We required golf course experience, and we didn't have a problem picking up those people. And then those kind of started to go away, and we said, well, if you have landscape experience, and then that started to go away. And so now it's just, can you find your way to work in the morning? We'll take you and we'll train you. So we do have some new people out there, and changing cups, that's an important part of course setup. It really is. You want your best man out there doing that. And so I think we'll get back on track this winter. We'll have some training and stuff, but it's tough with some of these new kids coming in. Yes, sir.
You mentioned it, I talked to you a while ago, but there's about the action items on the young trees.
Yes.
And so those are gonna be tagged with red flags?
I think
or
I'm going to use a red ribbon on those.
Red ribbon?
Yeah.
So Pat, do we need a local rule for that? I mean, there is one. Local rule E10 covers that.
Yeah, we probably should need to address that.
Yeah, and I don't know that it has to be necessarily specific to one course. It could just be a general local rule. If it's tagged with a red flag, then you get free relief.
Yeah.
on that, so I'm happy to help write that up.
All right, very good, thank you.
I do have one, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One last comment. Overall, Todd, I think you're doing a great job, and I thank you very much.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. We've got a great staff out there, and they're hardworking, and, you know, I see it every day, and especially during overseeding. I mean, these guys are daylight to dark getting it done, and being short-staffed, they're picking it up. So gotta give a lot of credit, or give all the credit to those guys. You know, sometimes I'm just out there directing traffic and staying out of their way, and they're the ones that are doing the job. One last thing, if you remember this time last year with the overseeing, we had the issue with the greens over at Echo Mesa with the vandalism. So I put trail cams up all throughout the golf course. And it's kind of fun to see what's going on out there at night. We talked about carts being close to the greens and parking up on the overseed areas. Well, the other night I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I checked my phone, because it goes right to my phone when somebody's in that area. And there was a cart parked on the green bank on number 8. They were out there walking their dog with the flashlights. So it doesn't just happen during golfing hours. It's after hours. Those things are going on. So, and I don't have the answer for that. I don't know. So.
Okay, thank you, Pat. There are no questions online? Any questions or comments? All righty. Thank you much. We'll move into our new business. And as Todd has already said, Echo Mesa, which had a lot of work done to it this past summer, will be reopening in a couple of weeks. And as we talked at the last meeting, we will have a temporary rule there. So we'll look at putting in place a temporary rule on Echo Mesa and ending the temporary rule at Grandview. So Dave, would you like to address that?
Well, it's the same rule that we had for Grandview, and it just says that all the desert areas are deemed to be no-play zones. And the relief is under Rule 16.1, which is the same relief you would get if you were on a cart path or something like that, with the difference being that it is a no-play zone. As you might know, if you're on a cart path, you can play it if you want, but if you're in the desert, you cannot. So it's the nearest point of relief plus 1 club length, and it doesn't necessarily mean you go to the fairway or you go to nice pretty grass. You go to the nearest relief, which might be dirt, but it's not sand. So, any questions on the rule?
My group, we play just lift, clean, and throw.
Okay, with that in
I know you
mind,
people.
I think the proper way to handle this would be the golf committee will make a recommendation to the board to have golf operations put a temporary rule in place for the no-play zones at Echo Mesa. And if everyone agrees to that, we will also terminate the no-play rule at Grandview. Is everyone in favor of that? Okay, we'll take that action. Thank you. The next topic, 5.02, is our golf policies. We have nine golf policies, and at the last meeting, I asked everyone to kind of take a look at them, and we would just look at those that anyone felt needed to be amended in some ways. I got a couple of comments back from a couple of people, and as far as our first policy, G01, which is pretty short, refunding prepaid golf cards, I had a comment that if someone gets a doctor's order, does that permanently refund their money? And I guess can they start another card in the future?
Well, my question was on that. It says doctor's order stating they cannot continue to play golf. Not to continue to play golf forever or just for an extended period of time?
For a continued period of time. I'm looking at Terry back there because accounting and membership handle these, but yes. So in the past, it was refund on cards was death only. And so we tried to soften this a little bit because we understand that people have replacement shoulders and things like that. So it's pretty tight. It's been pretty good as far as how we handle this. It also is calculated based on the amount of rounds that have been played, and it's calculated at the regular member rate. So we see refunds every once in a while, but David, to your point, injuries are part of it, but you have to have a doctor's note. And in other words, we look at it for that card, and down the road, if you want to buy another annual, you're welcome to. Now, we'll watch and see if it's habitual, right? But we haven't had any problems with that.
So is everyone in favor of leaving policy G01 in place as written? Pat, you don't have a problem with that then? Or- Okay, so G01 will remain as written. G02 is high school and college golf teams. It's a pretty short policy. Pat, any issues with that we need to change anything?
You know, years ago, it was high school or college teams had to be sponsored by a men's or ladies charter club. And years ago, we asked Pebblebrook Men's and Ladies Club to sponsor Valley Vista High School, and they did. And that right now is the only high school team that we still have in play. We feel that it's beneficial to have them out here. They play this time of year at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and they're about done with their season. So our policy has been such that we get hit up all the time to try to host things, but we want to limit that just because of this time of year space availability. So right now, we haven't had any problems with this policy, and it's been good for us.
Pat,
Yeah.
why is it beneficial?
So it's interesting. A couple programs. One of them was a 5K that we ran for the community, and I'll get into that. But this is beneficial because it's amazing how many people, the kids bring out their parents and their grandparents, and they get to see Sun City West. And I was talking to Katie a while back. The number one place people retire to Sun City West from is Arizona or the Phoenix area. And so it's just another way to showcase that somebody might live in Surprise and not have any idea that, hey, they can live here close to their family and still be in a nice neighborhood. So do I have any information of how many houses we've sold? No, don't have a clue. But it's amazing how many positive compliments we get from their parents.
So do I have consensus to leave policy G02 as written? Okay, thank you very much. G03 golf course maintenance, we'll actually be touching on that when we get to new business item 505, so we'll hold off on that. G04 powered golf vehicles, I had one comment that the policy does not contain any type of limits as to the weight or type of tires and stuff. Is that something we need to look at?
Yeah, that would be something I would like to look at. Tire tread is one of them. We're seeing some bigger vehicles. So yes, I think there might be some opportunity there to adjust that.
So I guess that means we will be needing to form a working group. And Pat, do you obviously have a few ideas of
Sure.
what we need to put in there, such as we do allow the 4-person carts at this time, but would we need to address something like limiting it to just 2 people only on the golf course?
Right, so we are seeing some 4-passenger carts. The rule that we have for golfers is that no more than 2 golfers can be in that cart for pace of play issues, because you could see a foursome in a cart and they'd have to go to each ball and it would be pretty tough. So that would be another thing that we would need to address and add to that. So I'd love to be part of that.
Okay, we will form a working group, and who would like to volunteer to be on that working group with Pat? David Eichner? Julie, okay. Do we need more than that? I think 04. I I have 2 people right now. I will, no, 2's good. 2 to work with Pat's fine. Would you like to? Okay. Vanessa, you're on the working group. I will take care of notifying the governing board that we have formed a working group to look at that item, and we will set the parameters for, because we have to notify for meetings and things like that. So, okay, thank you very much. G06, which we worked on last year, administration of the golf tee times. Anyone have any issues with the way it's currently written, the way we amended it last year? Seeing none, we'll have that stand as is. Another short policy, G07, golf course liability. Didn't get any comments on that, and it's pretty straightforward. Leave that as is, okay? Violation of the greens fees rules, G08. Anybody, no comments? Okay, stands as is. G10 we'll actually talk about later on under business item 5.08. So we'll move right on to G12, golf tournaments and special events. That's a very short policy. I received no comments. It just deals with the events run by golf operations. Anyone have any comments on that? Okay, thank you. That will stand then, and I'll make a recommendation to the board on those, and then we will act on the powered golf vehicles one with the working group. Okay, thank you very much. 5.03 we've already accomplished. We set the date to be October 16th at 1 p.m. And for those that can make it, we'll tour the 3 golf courses and see what Todd has to show us. Okay, moving on to 5.04. This was something that a few of us talked about at the end of last meeting. Actually doing a more formal golf survey of not only our golfers, but our residents, just to get a feel for, how often people play, things like that. So probably the best way to deal with this would be to form like a working group to establish the parameters of a survey. Any thoughts from the committee?
Would we want to combine 5.04 and 5.05 with that working committee?
The way I've kind of laid out the agenda, 505 and 506 and 507 would be the type of issues that we would ask questions for in the survey. So, I guess at this point, is the committee in favor of doing a survey? I guess that's the first question.
I always think you need,
This would be more for the community's purpose to determine some of the demographics of, how often are people play. I know we can track some of that by rec card, but to look at how, are these people possibly are they year-round residents? Are they seasonal residents? Things like what would they look at for proper pricing for our tee times for our residents? Things that would help us because we have an input to next year's budget by setting our greens fees.
Yeah, so I was one of the people that suggested this. And again, my own work experience is all information is good information, right? But it needs to be done in a formal way. It needs to be done on a set period, and it needs to be done multiple times so you can develop trending data. Okay, and I've lived here going on 10 years now and really haven't seen anything like that. Now, there may have been stuff that I missed, but I think really and truly, if you go back and you look at the charter of our committee, it's to act as the liaison between golf ops, and I'll include Todd, there as well, and the community as a whole. So, you could go back and ask people the question, okay, you've lived here for X number of years. What do you think the conditions of the courses are today compared to when you first got here? Better, the same, worse? Who knows what the answer will be to that? What is it you really want from golf ops? Are you getting that? Yes, no? If not, what do you want? So I think there's, it's a very rich open field, and I think it would be good for the committee to get some input from Pat relative to questions, from Todd for questions, but the questions in the survey needs to come from the committee on behalf of the community. That's my impression, so.
So the basic consensus then is we all feel this is a good thing, and probably the way to proceed would be better to do it as a working group or as the whole committee. What would everybody? Since the committee only meets formally once a month, it'd be pretty tough to actually develop questions and stuff like that, so we probably need a working group.
I'm not sure if Vanessa's question was answered. Not sure.
Why?
You asked what is the purpose of the survey or the objective of the survey. Has that been answered? What are we after with this information and this data we get? Then what are we gonna do with it?
Okay, well, my response to that would be, these committees are supposed to make policy recommendations to the governing board. Okay, so I think the information gathered through the surveys would be to serve as the basis for policy recommendations that this committee would make. So let's say people come back and say the courses are not as in good a shape now as they were 10 years ago. Well, we know that there is a staffing constraint that Todd's having to deal with every day. So do we put some sort of policy in place that basically says, it's the recommendation or whatever that, so we do something special to help Todd, and that's codified in the policy because we know that there is a particular hiring problem he has. Okay, I'm making this up as I go along, so, bear with me. But, so that's what I see coming out of the survey. I mean, really and truly, it's feedback about how do we help set the tone that you want the community to experience through the actions of environmental services and golf ops. That's what I see the objective as being.
So I think we have a cross-section of the residences on the committee. I think we know the answers, or have a good idea to all the answers that we would put on that survey. If you just said, we need to address staffing. We need to address the conditions of the golf course. Isn't that why we're here? To address these issues? Why do we need to waste time with putting out a survey? I think we know the answer to this survey.
Well, probably we do. But again, I think it's an opportunity for people to have their say in it. And, one of the things I've thought about when I thought about putting the question to the committee was, okay, is this going to be another exercise where we send out a survey, just like we send out, here's your chance to vote for the governing board. And we get a very small response to the thing, okay? But again, I feel while we probably feel ourselves that we know the answers, I think it's our responsibility, again, going back to, it's our job to serve as the liaison between the community and golf operations. I think you have to ask the question to the community as a whole and not just presume that we know the answer, even though I think we probably do. So.
Silence is deafening.
Yeah.
We,
You know what, Rudy, I would suggest you form a work group, and maybe the work group comes back and says, no, we think a survey would not be a good fit or whatever. But I also think Sun City West as a whole never does surveys to their member owners. And, you don't know much about us. And I think the more we can learn about our community, the better we can help speak for them. So I would advocate forming the work group, see where that takes us. It doesn't mean you have to come out with something specific or whatever. And to Ron's question, it doesn't mean we can't pull out, let's say, the staffing on the golf course and make that an agenda item right now and come forward with a policy on it. Doesn't mean we have to wait for the survey. If we see that's an issue, let's get after it. So I think, you know, we've got a win-win here, I think, both ways.
Sounds like I have a volunteer for a working group? Okay.
If you put the first question on the survey is, do you want a better quality of beer at the golf courses? You'll get plenty of responses, so.
I think I would like to have at least 4 people on this working group. So David? Ron? Oh, I had to see your hand. And if one more, if not, I know Pat and Todd will certainly want to assist you when needed, so David, okay. So we will form a working group, and I will let the working group decide what they need to do to get this done. So
I would also suggest the rest of the members, if you have some questions that you think are good, you know, get them over in our direction so we can at least put them on a list and work our way through that. So I would encourage that.
okay, thank you very much. See, that led right into the next item of business, 503, golf course maintenance priorities. Why I put it on there, we do have a policy. This committee has recommended to the board a golf maintenance policy, and the issue was, as we've heard from Todd, we have difficulties in hiring people, and Todd gets the job done with the people that he has. But what do we need to do to help Todd do his job? Because we have people wanting, or we are advertising that we are a premier golfing community. So how do we ensure that we're going to maintain the conditions of our golf courses? So that's, in looking at policy G03 golf course maintenance, is there something that we could look at changing there? Or do we leave that policy as is, and then the working group with the survey could possibly tailor some questions to see what people would like to see done on our golf courses based upon the fact that it would probably take additional maintenance people to accomplish those things? I'm open for suggestions.
I would suggest on that one that people that are working, doing their job already, and the golfers themselves become more proactive. So if I'm standing around waiting to hit a shot, I'm gonna go fill 20 divots. If I'm a PA sitting in my cart waiting for the next group to drive by, go rake a bunker. Go fix the holes on the tee box. I see some PAs doing that, but I think everybody that is at the golf course, including starters where they can see there's nobody, there's 2 starters in a pro shop, there's nobody coming in for the next 3 tee times. You go out there, you collect all those buckets, you fill all those sand traps at the driving range, you be proactive. Everybody that's part of the golfing community, our course will stay in better shape. That's what I recommend.
Who's the volunteer that's gonna go out and eat in 100% of the sand traps in Deer Valley? Who's gonna go out there and pull all the knee-high weeds and the grass that's grown over the top? I mean, divots is one thing, but knee-high weeds in every golf course, in every sand trap at Deer Valley, and all the coyote footprints that they did a happy dance all night. Who's gonna rake that at 5 o'clock in the morning in the dark? This is what I think we need to address, is when it says premier golf community, let's define what premier golf is. There you go. So that's what I would like to hear from Todd, is what can we do to help you as the committee? We're on your side. And if you need more staff, tell us how we can get you more staff. Do you need more money? What do you need?
Yeah, you know, as I'd mentioned, I work closely with our HR department, and they're doing a great job of they're trying everything they can to get new employees in here. You know, we set up interviews with employees and then they don't show up. They go missing. We never hear from them again. Again, it's just tough getting these employees in here, but I work with HR almost on a daily basis to get new employees in here. And we'll continue to do that. And, you know, I don't think it's so much money. I think you can throw money at it, but I don't think that's going to solve the problem, because we increased our wages at one time because we thought, well, if we offer more money with our benefit package, then we're going to get more people coming in the door. We picked up a couple, but that didn't solve the problems. And I don't really think it's a money issue. I really don't.
So Todd, when was the last time you raised the pay rate for those guys?
I believe that was 2 years ago that we did that, yeah. And that's something, and HR, they look at that, and they do a wage comparison with every other communities around the area to make sure that we are competitive. And, you know, we got a great benefit package, I've mentioned that before, but I think some of these younger kids, they're not interested in a benefit package. They don't care about insurance. They don't care about 401k, profit sharing, those kind of things. That really doesn't mean anything to them. What's important to them is every 2 weeks, they want to see how big that paycheck can be. So they don't want those things coming out of the paycheck, the insurance and those kind of things.
So then it is about money. They want a bigger paycheck.
Well, they like that paycheck. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm saying that we've tried to increase those wages and it doesn't seem to do anything. It doesn't move. It really doesn't get those people in through the door.
So if you looked at the golf communities around here, is anybody staffed appropriately?
No,
Not even the premium courses?
no.
Because the question would be, if somebody is, what are they doing to get people and keep them?
And you know, those are the questions I ask. I talk to vendors because they go out and they see all the golf courses and they meet with superintendents throughout the valley. So I'm always picking their brain to find out what's going on staff-wise. And again, I hear the same story. They're short-staffed and the quality of some of their people that they have on staff isn't the greatest. They've never been on a golf course before. Yeah, I wish I had an answer for this. I really do. I really do, because
But I go off the compound and I play these other courses and I don't see knee-high weeds growing out of the sand traps.
Okay.
They've got some personnel because the courses are very nice. So they are keeping enough staff somehow. So is it, and I'm sorry, I gotta disagree with you. I don't think Human Resources is doing a good job. Is that something we need to address as a committee, to talk to Human Resources? I'm trying to find answers here.
Todd, what's the average tenure of somebody who's working on the courses?
I think nowadays it's probably 8 to 10 years, maybe.
They do stay that long.
Yeah, we have some employees that have been here anywhere from 20. We have a couple that have been here almost 35 years.
So your problem isn't you hire someone, they come in and work 5 or 6 months, and then they just disappear.
Yeah, some of the newer ones, some of the younger ones, especially in the summertime, you know, we'll hire them and then they'll work a couple days and then they just vanish. We never see them again. And I think, and again, that's in the summer months when it's hot and they're not used to that. They just got out of high school and they haven't really worked in their life. And so you're going to come out here and work in the heat. And they just discovered that that's not for them.
If you want to keep them for at least a year, then you pay them a bonus at the end of 12 months.
You know, I think I've worked at a large institution before, and there have been times when we've run into this kind of situation, you know, over, let's say, over time, over these 50 years. And I don't want to micromanage, but I would challenge the HR department and to really rethink how you hire employees in today's world, because they are not the same. And maybe it means 4-hour workdays, and maybe it means more money, and you're going to save on the benefits because they don't care about it. And maybe it means twice as many staff as we have right now, because then you can manage it almost even better because you have somebody you might be able to call in. And maybe it means that the HR, and again, I'm not trying to pick on, I don't even know who the HR person is, but, you know, maybe it means getting out to these hiring, what do you call them?
Fairs.
Fairs, and get out there and really, you know, hit the ground on this. So I really think it's a total recalibration. And we've all read about it. We all know that people nowadays don't want to work, but they are working. So what is it? Have we talked to our own employees at the golf course to say, hey, how do I get the rest of your family to follow your footsteps? What if you bring your son in and mentor your son or your daughter to take your place? I mean, it just takes out of the box thinking. And that's what, I'm not trying to,
No.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to blame anybody. I think it's just where we are in the world right now. And it takes a complete recalibration, or we're going to slip further and further behind in the quality of our courses. It has nothing to do with you, Todd. Absolutely nothing. But if you don't have the resources to do the expectations, that's what's happening. And I can kind of feel us spinning our wheels a little bit here. So I don't know what it is, if it's the general manager that needs to take the lead on this. I don't think it needs to be just you, Todd, or you, Pat, or anything. It's an overall issue that we need to take a huge focus on, because there's a lot of employees in Sun City West, not just at the golf course, and we might have to change how we're thinking. That's just my thoughts.
Okay. I did talk to HR today. We do have a referral bonus that's been in place for quite some time. And then we're looking at a sign-on bonus, which we haven't had before, but that would be something new, and I talked to them about that too. So we're gonna get that going. So, you know, we're trying to be creative in how we get new employees in here. You know, not only get them in the door, but retain them, you know, for more than a month. And so all I can say is we'll keep trying. And
Okay, I think some of these issues could be items that we put in the survey that we'd get a little better response from our residents. And then, but along the lines of our discussion that we just had, we do have a golf maintenance policy, G03. That's not going to solve any of our problems. So can we just leave that policy as written? And then if any changes need to come down the line at some later date, maybe we'll need to put together a whole new policy on how we perceive that our golf courses should be maintained to retain that premier name to them. So everybody kind of in line with keeping policy G03 as is, okay? Then that kind of takes us to 506, which last year we basically will, later in the year here, we will get the expense sheet from our finance people as to what it costs to run our golf courses. And at the same time, we will get a breakdown of our current golf green fees and all of our golf rates with a recommendation of what we need to raise in order to cover expenses. But the bottom line is, we really don't have a hard philosophy. Do our green fees cover our expenses? And there seems to be no answer to that. And I know Pat and I have talked about it, that there are ways that we can increase revenue, but it would be at the expense possibly of opening the courses up to more public play. So that's kind of the idea behind what I had in 506. What do we want to consider when we look at next year's greens fees? How do we want to approach this subject in advance of even seeing what the expenses are? Are we all going to be in favor of raising member greens fees? Are we in favor of raising range ball rental? Any of those things? Open to suggestions.
I think this all ties into the a subcommittee, the what?
Work group?
The work group. I think this all ties in. I mean, to give Todd more help, to get it becomes an expense. where do we get the money? I think all these 4 points all tie in together what that group should be talking about.
John?
Well, I think we have to keep our fees reasonable, but to suggest that we can raise fees enough to cover the costs that we associated with the golf courses, you'd have to raise them so high it'd be ridiculous. I mean, our dues subsidize all the golf courses. If I'm not wrong, it's about 200 grand per course every year. You want to take away that subsidy, well, then you're going to have the argument, well, how much does it cost to run all the rec centers that we have here? They cost a heck of a lot more than 200 grand a rec center per year. So we often have this debate where we're saying, well, how much subsidy for the golf courses is enough or is it too much? But people don't look at how much we're subsidizing all the other amenities that we have here in Sun City West. So, you know, raising the fees, I think we need to look at inflation and the additional costs that we have associated with running these golf courses. But it's not like, let's not even think about trying to cover all our expenses.
Well, I'll be discussing it in a work group, but I have several ideas to raise revenue and not even touch the green fees, but we have to think outside the box. And trust me.
Coming.
Okay, thank you. That's exactly why I kind of put this on the agenda just as a discussion item.
So is 5.07, is that talking about dynamic pricing type of thing?
Well,
Is that-
okay, I was just going to get to 507.
Okay.
We have heard in the past from our residents, and we know there are times of the year where there's very low play on our golf courses. Obviously, when it's 110, we don't get a lot of play. But Pat, are there some ways that we could do some type of pricing incentives at certain times of the year, in addition to possibly dynamic pricing if your software system could handle that? Are there ways that we could entice people to play golf at those times of the year when we don't have heavy play?
You know, these are good things to talk about, and there's a lot of different directions we can go. First, we've got a lot of really good data over the years. And Cliff and Terry and the accounting team look at this, and they've got access to it. And it's really impressive to see how consistent this data is from year after year. I say that because it's pretty predictable, but when we start looking at expenses and having to raise prices, where are those opportunities? We've got 4 or 5 revenue streams in golf that we can touch to increase prices. But I also want to share that we've got to keep this amenity component of our community kind of intact. We're really not a business. If we were a business, we wouldn't run this golf the way we run golf. And I say that because I give my best tee times to our residents at the cheapest price. But that's good because we've got residents that want to play, and they want to play at a certain time. To your point, Rudy, you know, we're looking at maybe expanding how far in advance our tee times can be booked, because public play, just people off the street coming to play Sun City West, is to the tune of over $1 million a year. And that's great revenue. And it wasn't that many years ago that this community was private. Back in 08, 07, 06, you either had to be a resident or a guest of a resident. But when you had the housing crunch and you saw that the revenues dropped off, how can we make more revenues? So we started inviting outside play. And when you start getting $1 million a year on that, it starts like, wow, that's a pretty good little boom there. So adjusting our tee time structure, maybe the residents can book 10 days in advance and the public can book 7. Looking at things like that, because one of the challenges our public players have is if they come out on a Saturday and have a great time on a Saturday afternoon when our residents aren't playing, and they said, hey, what a great time, let's go book a tee time for next Saturday. They can't do it. They gotta wait till Tuesday. And so I've lost that opportunity to sell that tee time. And it's easier to make money off a repeat golfer than to create a new golfer. And that's what we have to do when we don't get this repeat business. And we've got a very loyal following from our residents, but we also have a very loyal following from people that live in Surprise, Estancia, Portobello, what have you. So there are some things that we can tweak and talk about. But with that said, we're also the Sun City West Rec Center, who has an amenity component to this. And I look at open tee times as not necessarily a bad thing, because I would like that resident to be able to drive from their garage over to Stardust and say, can I get on the golf course and play? I really believe the thing we need to think about and look at is, how do we put more golfers into our houses? How do we raise 24, 25% of our residents playing golf to 33 or 34%? And now we can start looking at, I've got a built-in clientele, I've got all the customers I need, and we can support ourselves. So to Ron's point, yeah, there's some things that we can look at, but it's a give and take. How far do we want to take it? What are we trying to get out of this? And again, the more players we have on the golf course at a cheaper rate, the more wear and tear. And we've been really good about holding our price structure. I'm not a big proponent of a $10 round at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for public play. That doesn't do any of us any good, because I don't want you folks playing on Tuesday or Wednesday morning saying, where do all these divots come from? Where do these ball marks come from? Because the value is in you playing. That's who we're trying to satisfy. Did you get the big bang out of the buck? The other stuff is just crumbs and scraps, and we can work that out. But, you know, we've got, it's a very unique environment here, and it's a very good golf experience for the most part. It really is. But how can we make it that much better? And those are discussions I'd love to be part of too. Absolutely.
So you made the comment about the housing crunch in 2000, whatever it was, okay, and how we were a closed community before then. So how did you manage that?
Yeah, I wasn't
I know,
here.
but the question is how did the community sustain that? Was the percentage of people playing golf higher? Kind of touch on your point. Did we just run at a bigger deficit for the golf courses? I mean, I'm back to, if you did it once, could you do it again? Okay.
There's some really interesting footnotes in Sun City West history. There are reports, and I haven't seen it actually written, I've just heard from residents that have been here a long time. We used to do 400,000 rounds. And I'm saying, I'm doing the math. I don't know how you did 400,000 rounds. Well, I'm under the impression that Del Webb paid for this play and stay, because everybody realizes those condos over there on Hillcrest were play and stays. Come out for the weekend and we'll get you out on the golf course for 2 rounds. They put $5 or $10 and paid for every one of those green fees. Whether people showed up, that's a different story, but they were paid. So 410,000 rounds, I don't know how that was accounted for, but they say they did it. Housing crunch. Somewhere along the line, we were doing quite a few rounds still, but then it dropped off sharply when home sales were low. And I think everybody wanted to be proactive and try and right the ship. So we added 25, 50 cents to green fees that were outside the community and tracked it real closely. Found that there was a demand for outside play. So we got through that, but it's evolved into our rate sheet to where it is now, where we actually truly ask public players if they want to come out and play. So to your point, Dave Miller, it's evolved over time, and we've weathered the storm pretty well. wasn't that many years ago before COVID, 290,000 rounds was a busy time for us. I mean, before COVID, we did over 300,000 rounds once, and the weather was perfect for 6 months. It was absolutely perfect. And it's interesting. This place has really gone through some metamorphosis here. So we'll continue to learn.
I just want to add, Pat, don't forget, 43 years ago, we were the only game in town. Since then, Portobello, Grand, Trilogy, Sterling Grove, Sun City Festival, we now have competition. So, I mean, to say, where did all these rounds go? Well, there you go. There's now competition out there. And where are the residents moving, or where are they going to continue to move if we don't become, what I'll say, back to a premier golf community? I believe that's why our rounds are down.
So if you put a pencil to it, 400,000 rounds is almost impossible. But I mean, it's almost like 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. in December. So the numbers were fudged somewhere along the line. I don't know how, but they made it work. And once Del Webb got out of here and we were standing on our own, this model works. It works very, very well. But we're trying to keep those dues down, and we're trying to keep the green fees down for the residents. And that's the balance that we're trying to fight.
All righty, I thank everyone for the discussion. We've covered about 3 topics here. Anyone in the audience would like to comment on any of these? Please come forward. Thank you.
Bill Weaver, 1240887. I just want to make just a brief comment that competition is not just another golf course. Competition is anything that a person does instead of what you want them to do. So all of our clubs, as our clubs become better and better, are competing with golf. So, and with Pat's point in bringing more golfers into the community could be an important point, because if you start to lose that percentage of golfers to the clubs, because our clubs are getting better and better all the time, that maybe, and then there's maybe a better golf experience that you get. So I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much. Brings us to our last item of new business, 5.08, which is also a policy, G10, the non-resident play or public player cards. And I'd like Pat to kind of kick this off and explain, in a sense, is this a benefit to us to offer this card to non-Sun City West people that allows them to play golf, if they play enough rounds, at a discounted rate? Is that something we want to continue with?
All right, very good. Thank you. This is a public frequent player card, which is something we have offered, since I've been here. It's not a real popular card. It's for a very select few. We find that it's for somebody that might be close by a Grand or a Portobello, even Vistancia. We had people that bought it up in Vistancia. And real quickly, I'll share the recent history. 19, we sold 5 of these. 2020, we sold 4. 2021, we sold 13, COVID. 2022, 15. 2023, 12. 2024, 13, and currently we have 10. And we find that just to be somebody that might be a resident or a relative or a friend that might live outside of this community that have connections here, and they play quite regularly. So the program is that they pay $1,600 up front, and then they pay a green fee at the counter. Currently, that green fee is, what did I say? It was 52, is that what it is?
Yeah, it varies based upon the season and the
Correct.
time of day that you play, but I think at prime time, you can save as much as about $27 on an 18-hole round if you've paid the $1,600 up front.
Right.
I'll jump in here. I think we just need to eliminate it. I don't think non-Sun City West members should have a discounted fee. I think they need to play public. Like you said, there's only 8 or 9, what'd you say, Pat? 10 of them?
This year,
I
yeah.
think we stop that immediately, and I would make that as a consensus going forward.
How does everyone feel on eliminate the public? Okay, that would be a change then. That would be a change to the policy. And what I'd like to do then is, well, it deals also just with setting fees for guests. So it's not just the card.
Yeah, I just want to catch it before renewal happens, and that's coming up here, isn't it? Isn't renewal for cards on an annual basis?
It's not, it's a rolling 12 months. So,
From their 12 months, okay.
right, so if I could suggest, let me bring some additional data back on this, because I'm telling you how many cards, but I'm not telling you how many rounds they played.
I don't think it matters.
You don't think it matters?
Nope, I don't believe that non-Sun City West members should have a discounted fee and should pay less in prime time than our regular Sun City West members. That's what I believe.
What I would like to do then is we've established the working group for G04. While you're looking at that, take a look at G10. And we've agreed that we'd like to eliminate the public frequent player card. Is that okay with everyone?
No, Kathy, I think if they're paying $1,600 up front, and yes, they're getting a reduced rate, that $1,600 is contributing to that reduced rate. And I think all revenue's great revenue. So I'd rethink that.
Yeah, no, I think they're getting into prime time where some of us can't get into prime time. So that. 10 cards out there. I know.
They don't take up that much time.
So 10 cards, non-issue.
$16,000.
Let them pay full freight.
Okay, what we'll do is Pat has some additional data. You can bring that to the working group, and when we're working on G04, we'll also take a look at G10. And if we decide we need to modify that, we will get rid of the frequent player card. Okay, that completes all of our business on the agenda. And, okay, I have a question. Online.
From Mary Gaynett, I know some courses offer an unlimited card to the public for 3 or 4 months in the summer months at an amount that benefits us. Guess it's a comment.
Just a comment. Okay. That completes all of our business items. Any additional comments from anyone on the committee? I think we beat up a lot of topics pretty well today. Anyone in the audience? Any other comments? With that, our next golf committee meeting is November 6th, Thursday, 1:30 in the afternoon. That happens to be the first Thursday of November, not the customary second. And so we will call this meeting adjourned at 3:13. I thank you very much.